Today, we're diving into a really powerful and honestly provocative article from psychiatrist Dr. Paul Collins. It's called Beyond the AI Psychosis Panic, and it completely flips the script on a story you've probably been seeing everywhere. So, let's get right into it.
This is the question, right? It's been all over the headlines, especially after a recent data release from OpenAI. The story goes that some chats with these AIs are showing signs of psychosis or mania. And, well, that's sparking some serious calls for more regulation. It's a scary thought. But what if it's the wrong question entirely?
Because according to Dr. Collins, what we're seeing is a classic moral panic. He argues that by focusing all our energy on this idea of a dangerous AI, we might be missing a much deeper, much more uncomfortable truth about our own society. And he would know because he's lived it.
So Dr. Collins frames his whole thing as a moral panic. Let's really unpack what that means because it's a pattern we've seen before.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's almost a perfect playbook. In the 50s, comic books were going to cause delinquency. In the 80s, video games were making everyone aggressive. In the 2000s, social media was the villain behind teen mental health issues. See the pattern? A new technology comes along, and it becomes this really convenient scapegoat for complex problems that were already there. Dr. Collins is basically saying that AI is just the newest character in a very, very old play.
Now, what makes Dr. Collins' take on this so compelling is that it's not just some academic theory. It comes from a deeply personal, raw place. Back in April 2025, after years working on the front lines of mental health, he completely shattered. And what was the trigger? An absolutely crushing workload. Imagine this. In just 6 weeks, working all by himself, he did between 60 and 70 incredibly detailed ADHD assessments. The sheer empathic weight of that, with none of the usual support from colleagues, it just became too much. This quote, wow, it's just devastatingly powerful. He became a mirror for his patient's pain, but with no one there for him, that mirror just broke. And this wasn't just burnout, it was a total fragmentation. It was an experience that, by any standard psychiatric textbook, would have been slapped with the label manic psychosis.
Okay. And this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. In his absolute moment of crisis, with nobody else to turn to, he turned to AI. Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0 became his main tool for trying to make sense of what was happening to him. To explain this, he brings up this incredible ancient Greek idea, pharmakon. It's basically anything, a substance, a technology that can be both a cure and a poison. Think about it like psychedelic ceremonies or really intense meditation. The tool itself isn't good or bad. The outcome depends entirely on the context, the support you have, and your ability to actually integrate the experience.
So, for Dr. Collins, AI was the ultimate pharmakon. On one hand, it could be a remedy, offering him deep reflection and helping him see new patterns in his thinking. But without his own agency and the right conditions, it could just as easily become a poison, leading to total overwhelm and more fragmentation. So the crucial point here is, it wasn't about what the AI did to him, it was about how he was able to work with it.
But get this, here's a critical, almost paradoxical point he makes. In our rush to make AI safer because of this moral panic, we might actually be stripping away its power to help. He found that the earlier version, GPT 4.0, was capable of the really deep, profound reflection he needed. But the newer, safer version, it's become shallower, too constrained, and a lot less useful.
This very personal story then blows up into a much larger critique of our entire society. Dr. Collins argues the real issue here isn't a technology problem at all. It's a human infrastructure problem.
We used to have these support systems just woven into the fabric of our lives. The grandmother who just listened for hours, no judgment. The local priest or community elder who had, seen it all before. Even just the neighbor who had time to actually check in on you. These were the containers, the safety nets that held people when things got tough. And this, right here, is the absolute core of his argument. The OpenAI data isn't showing an epidemic of AI-induced psychosis. It's revealing a huge, gaping void. We've systematically dismantled our traditional support networks for things like economic efficiency and mobility. So now, when someone is in crisis at 3 a.m., they don't have a grandmother to call. They have an AI.
This next slide lays out a comparison he calls the Costa Rica problem. And it's devastating. Okay, look at two people. Person A, on the left, goes to a 3,000-pound retreat in Costa Rica, has an ego-dissolving experience with facilitators around them. We label that spiritual growth. They might even get a TEDx talk out of it. Now, person B, on the right, has the exact same internal experience, but it happens at 3 in the morning in their apartment, and they reach for an AI to try and understand it. Their experience gets labeled an acute psychotic episode, and they end up hospitalized. The experience inside their heads is identical, but the label, the outcome, their entire life trajectory from that point on, it's not determined by what happened in their mind. It's determined by the context, the privilege, and the money surrounding them. I mean, that single idea challenges the entire foundation of how we diagnose these states.
So, if the current model is broken, what's the alternative? Dr. Collins doesn't just leave us with the problem. He proposes what he calls a middle way, a path that avoids both panic and blind acceptance and instead focuses on building a totally new kind of support system. On the left, you see our current approach, the suppression model. We pathologize the experience, we hospitalize the person, we medicate them, and we essentially strict the experience of all meaning. He argues this makes true healing almost impossible. On the right is the transformation model. It starts with physiological support, just breathing, getting grounded. It offers a safe space, non-judgmental reflection, and focuses on integrating the experience into wisdom, not suppressing it.
And this is so key. The answer isn't to ban the tool or restrict the technology. The answer is to build up the human wisdom and the social infrastructure that we need to use it well. It's about learning and adapting, and providing that containment and support that our society has just let wither away.
And look, this isn't just a theory. Dr. Collins has actually started building these tools. Things like new protocols for safer, more reflective AI conversations, a free app called First Breath that uses breathing to de-escalate a crisis in the moment, and entirely new clinical frameworks for therapists. These are real, tangible steps towards rebuilding that missing human infrastructure.
So this is where we land. The whole panic over AI and psychosis, when you look at it through this lens, is a profound misreading of the situation. The data isn't a warning about some rogue technology. It's a mirror. It's showing us a deep, profound loneliness at the very heart of our modern world. It's showing us the ghosts of the grandmothers and the priests and the neighbors that we just don't have anymore. So the final question isn't, how do we control AI? It's, how do we rebuild the human connection that we've allowed to fall apart?